What up? This is Hudy. Not Huddy. It's Hudy. Hudy is the creator and lead developer of a game called TALIBRI, or TALIBRI, depending on who you ask. Hudy was kind enough to sit down with me and answer some questions that I had and that my guild had. So, a couple questions. Guild halls versus guild housing versus player housing. So what's going to be the purpose of each?
Guild halls are going to determine where you're actually located, so that's going to be tied to the city. The level of the guild hall will determine how high up your player housing can be upgraded, and player housing is going to determine the capacity of the guild. Player housing is going to be player-specific bonuses that are going to require item syncs to activate. And the level of the house and the quality of the add-on that you have are going to determine how good and how long that bonus lasts.
Is player housing going to have to be in the same area as the guild hall? Okay.
Justin?
Will guild halls, guild housing, or buildings in general scale with quality, quantity? How is that determined?
So buildings are going to have flat levels, and the house and the guild hall level are going to determine the maximum level that your additions can have. So as you upgrade your guild hall or your house, you're going to unlock the ability to upgrade certain additions to a higher level. You might unlock new additions, etc. Quality is going to factor into construction. So the way quality is going to, it's not actually going to be tied to the particular house, hall, add-on, whatever. It's actually going to be when you go to make this in construction, it's going to be a time-consuming thing. And the level will determine the minimum quality requirement of the addition. So if you're building a level 2 addition, it might require things that are rare materials and higher. And the higher quality you use, the more progress you make on the actual construction of it. So the quality isn't going to actually affect the outcome, it's going to affect how quickly you get to the outcome in terms of building it.
Okay, so it's kind of like, I don't know if have you played Ark?
Yes.
So it's almost kind of like the taming.
Yeah, similar. The higher quality
taming
materials you use to tame, the easier it is to do it. Yeah, something similar to that matter.
All right. Okay, so we've got this new construction skill that's coming out. What are nails made of?
Just ingots.
Is there a minimum level that's required for them?
No.
Or does that go along with kind of... Okay.
There's no minimum level. It's just going to be 0. You're going to be able to make them from scratch.
And when will they be rolled out? Will they be rolled out ahead of time?
It's going to all be with the guild update.
Okay.
It's all because the guild buildings are going to require construction as well. Okay. So.
Because I know since the guilds seem to be more and more based around supply chains, many may want to get out and have a head start on resource gathering for that.
Yeah.
I mean, planks. Everybody's got planks.
Everybody's got shitloads of planks. Woodworking has little use on the market besides arrows at the moment, which is a good sink for it. And I know everyone and their mother's bitching about the arrow stuff right now, so I still have to buff that. But for now, yeah, planks are going to be really, really important, and so will nails. So those are basically going to be the only 2 things that factor into buildings.
Okay. So going along the plank route, is there any minimum quality needed for that, or minimum type of wood?
No, so the quality is going to be very important. The wood type may be important for certain building additions or certain guild hall things. So yes, the wood does matter.
Okay.
What wood affects what building and stuff, I haven't figured out yet.
Okay. So. There's a question, whether or not upgrades would need a certain level of construction, I think as a skill, or if we could just do it with materials, either based on quantity or quality.
You're going to be able to do it just with materials. So construction as a skill isn't going to act like the same as other skills. It's not going to unlock new
Is there like a
things.
mastery tied to it?
The skill itself is going to act like a mastery. So construction is literally all about how fast you can do this one thing. Because building buildings isn't a fast process by any means, and it's going to be the same thing in the game. Building one building might take you a couple hours of constant ticks. being a higher level is going to reduce that amount of time necessary. So the level itself almost acts as a mastery. And we might shift something, like we might add mastery for different things later on down the line, but for now that's going to be the initial implementation, and then it's really easy for us to add a mastery to something. It's sort of a hurdle to take it away. So.
Sure. So going along with that, it actually, some of the things mentioned in that dev chat reminded me of Vicarium.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there might be some influence based on that.
Those game styles will heavily influence the future of this game.
Like building spaces and stuff like that, kind of factored in. Going along with the Icarium theme, you had mentioned hiring workers and paying them in beer.
Yes.
What sort of things are they going to be able to do? Like, are they going to be able to take over like your forestry type stuff?
So workers are going to kind of be the slaves of Talibri. You can send them off on jobs to gather components, or materials rather. So really, that's going to come later on down the line. I know Roar loves to talk about workers because that's like his thing. He's really into that. But right now, the material costs for most things are going to be fairly low. And you'll actually notice when we get into guild halls and player housing, some of the later levels of those, you're going to look at the materials and you'll be like, how the fuck am I going to get that much stuff? Like, it'd take forever. The workers are where that kind of comes in. And I think that's why I was saying the housing for guild is going to become prohibitive at some point. Eventually, we're going to add in workers, and that's not going to be as prohibitive. So one feature we're actually, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, one feature we're actually working on designing right now is this concept of territory control. And so guilds are actually going to be able to create armies. And they're going to have significant resource costs in games like Icarium, where you're spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to build up these armies. These armies go and take over these locations. They give the people who own the location a certain benefit for gathering there, producing there, what have you. And then other people can come with their armies and themselves and go and fight for the control of this territory. So you're actually going to be able to, as a person, go into combat against these armies and just fight through waves of these enemies and tear down the forces and then send your own armies against them. So that's kind of where the Icarium system is going to come into play. We're going to have a lot of interesting locations. Like, you're not just going to be taking over the forests and the mountains and stuff like that. Like, we're actually going to add in like monuments that might give like reroll ones on crafting or something like that. And military will decay over time because we don't want some god tier, guild such as your own. Exactly. Having this massive army and going to take over a spot and then just sitting on it because nobody can take it. So when your army is actually in use holding a location, you're going to have attrition. So you're going to slowly lose units over time.
Now, is that based like kind of on the devotion system you were talking about?
A little bit. Devotion is going to be kind of different. Devotion is basically going to unlock a lot of routes that players can take in the future. So the priest, as an affinity example, is actually going to be able to have these talismans. So it's going to fit in this unnamed slot in your equipment, and it's going to be attuned to a certain devotion, some deity, and as you perform certain actions that are associated with that deity, it's going to level up. And that the level and stats on that particular item are going to factor in heavily to its skills. The other thing is guilds themselves are going to be able to worship a certain deity.
Right.
Worshiping the deity and, again, performing actions that praise the god or whatever are going to actually unlock special military units and special units that can defend your dungeon. I know we talked about guild dungeons a little bit yesterday. So really they're just kind of unlocking mechanisms for fun, cool, new stuff. We're going to have equipment that's specific to certain deities, and they're going to have certain bonuses. And there's not going to be a downside to changing your deity. You can go ahead and worship whoever you want. You're just not going to be as pious, I guess, towards that one deity if you just transitioned over. That doesn't mean you lose your piety from the other one, so you can kind of mix and match as you please. But that's really what the devotion system is about. It's just more unlocks that kind of branch out. So you pick a branch, you stick with it, or you don't. I mean, that's kind of what Talibri is all about, is shitloads of stuff to do. Focusing gives you a lot of benefits, but you can also diversify.
All right. So I've got a couple questions that are probably require a smaller answer. There's been a question about getting a current active user count and maybe an offline user count, just to kind of get a sense for how many people are currently on and doing stuff.
I think I'm going to do an online count. I don't know if I want offline, because that might just be depressing. You're going to see, like...
Or just
we
player
have
base
right
in
now
general.
2,600 registered users. Last time I checked, I checked last night, and in the previous 4 hours, we had 480-something people active. And obviously that's not accurate, because some people might have logged off in that time or what have you. But active players is going to be a thing. Yeah, so soon is the easy answer. I think once I get all the new equipment and stuff I want in this weekend, I'll try to skim through the database. There's still a couple updates I need to do in terms of rebalancing some skills and stuff like that, so I need to go in there anyways. It's just so much grunt work. It's a pain in the ass.
Okay, and if the question wasn't picked up, that was for actual definitions for mood. Said it again.
Equipment or food.
for food, descriptions, tooltips, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What about buy orders for stuff that we currently don't have?
Oh, yeah, I have to fix that. I could probably do that this weekend, too.
Yeah.
That was a catch-all. Right now, it basically just pulls in everything when I tell it to, and I just added a global clause that said, only pull in the shit that you have more than 0 of, and so all of the drop-downs only had that. And originally, the funny thing was that was in there to fix the fact that you couldn't see anything you didn't own in the buy orders, and then that turned into like this awful plague upon every other drop-down. So I just had to make some changes and do an actual like Ajax pull or something for that specific buy check. And then, I want to get that back in there, but I had to remove it at the time, and my pressing concerns were the server at that exact moment, so that was more of a hindsight. Like, I can easily just remove this and get rid of all those people's problems.
And I think for some people, there's some confusion about like what a buy order is versus a sell order. And
I am trying to think of better ways to word it.
Breaking out as 2 separate controls, one for like sell something, one for buy something.
I could do. I mean, they'd be basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't see why I couldn't do that.
But then you also wouldn't have the culled list of items that you have that doesn't show your 0 of. All right. Confirm. No more wipes.
No more wipes.
No more wipes. Currently, you have to have your browser open for every action.
Yes.
Yes. ETA on when that might change? For gathering,
offline
at least?
actions, gathering. I'm hoping this weekend.
Okay.
I'm really, like I said earlier. That's going to be my goal for this weekend, is to redo that implementation and kind of put it on and cross my goddamn fingers that it actually works this time.
Yep.
I will say that this time I'm going to have an easy back out method, so that if I'll branch off, and if shit really hits the fan, I'll just roll back to that other branch. I'm not gonna putz around for 3 days anymore.
Yeah.
So,
well, at least data wasn't lost in the process.
No, data was not lost in the process.
Okay, so one of the things I've noticed is Rorby likes to say things a certain way, and I notice other people who don't know you like to say things a certain way. So is it TALIBRI?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know.
Or TALIBRI?
I always do TALIBRI, but...
Because I've always called it that, just because I've heard you call it that.
TALIBRI. So it actually started out as like TALIBRI, or something. Roar probably pronounced it a different way. I never actually heard him say it, but there was an extra L in there that I thought just didn't make sense, and so I said, like, that sounds weird, and we had never actually said the word out loud for like a month or two after we had already renamed the game. And once I actually said it, he's like, that's not how it's pronounced. I'm like, I'm going to roll with it. So in all reality, it's whatever the hell you want to call it. But yeah, we have differing opinions on that one, but we don't let it slow us down.
And for the thousands and thousands and thousands of times I've heard in the past couple days, man, I wish Hudy would implement...
It is Hudy. It is Hudy. Roar did say that correctly on the podcast thing. So
yes. So what's the deal with Mithril?
Mithril?
Yeah.
Does it do anything?
This is probably the only game I know where Mithril is a higher tier than Oralcicum.
I don't even know what the hell or whatever the hell that word is. Apparently I spelled it wrong and I didn't even realize it in the game.
Yes.
And Roar wanted me to change it. I'm like, nah, too hard, not happening. I don't know. So
'Cause
Roar
both-
originally was designing a lot of these concepts, and he's great with the writing and the stuff like that. But when it comes to like balancing and numbers and progression and stuff like that, he doesn't really have the experience. So he just kind of put like arbitrary numbers next to everything, and they didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time because I think he only went up to like level 180 when we had 1,000 maximum levels. So I reworked it to go up to 400, but I ended up just picking like random names and going down the list in that order. So they don't necessarily correspond to hardness or anything of like
character designer, yay or nay?
Eventually, art is the hard part with that one. Initially, we're just gonna have little profile picture head things that we have a bunch of already. So that'll be the first one. Art is really the hardest part. Like once we include premium features, I wasn't kidding when like literally every dime that we make from this is either going to server cost or art. Like I want to make this game beautiful, and we can't do that for free, unfortunately. Like I'm paying our current artist out of pocket right now for all of the material stuff she's building looks really cool. I don't know if you've seen the fish and some of the botany items, but like they fit in with the theme of the game really well. So everything else has just been like a shit show trying to find consistent art graphics. Like some of the weapons look really good, but I don't know if you saw the armor. The armor just looks kind of weird and out of place. It's because I did that. Like I just took a picture.
My gathering armor looks absolutely insane.
Yeah, I just basically bought like really high quality art assets, opened them up in Photoshop, and just pixelated them. Like, literally, that's all I did, and that's the utmost artist ability I have. So, in all honesty, I already have a couple artists on speed dial, but it's so not cheap. So, more artsy things are going to be included once I have the funds.
Okay. I think I know why this keeps cutting out, because apparently I'm running out of space on my phone.
I was wondering that last time didn't feel like 10 minutes.
So let's end here.
Yeah,
we talked about some stuff that's obviously more conceptual, so we might not want to, get too far down that path and get that information out yet, because that's all
it's
stuff
liable to
change.
change too.
Yeah. So maybe this will focus on me. Maybe I just ended it. Yeah. So go to patreon.com/Talibri to help support and get some of those art assets. Like, comment, follow, do whatever you do.